Good morning. Here we are on the back of a weak CPI print. Hope everyone's doing all right. Get ready for today.
Good
Good morning,
afternoon,
Paul.
Giles. Hey, everybody.
Here we are again. Weak
Greetings.
CPI print. It's looking good. We didn't get the turnaround Tuesday. We got a turbulent Tuesday. Let's hope we don't get a weird Wednesday.
Yeah, it's interesting. The markets don't, I don't know. It's CPI. It wasn't a huge deviation, but it's also feeling insignificant compared to everything else. Because remember, CPI in the past was like,
It's not the
that could be the
focus.
50-point move.
It's
Yeah, the
growth
whole
that's the
week,
focus.
you're like, yeah. And
As-
now it's like tariffs could create a bigger move than CPI, which is insane.
It's all about growth. Because if you look at that Truflation, were you there at the risk event?
I was, yeah.
If you see this index, I've seen some pretty clever analysts using this index for inflation and look at it. It's just plummeting. So there's some sort of wise head saying inflation is just not the issue.
Hey, Devon, do we know how that's calculated, that truflation? Just curious from a political perspective.
No, I don't know exactly how it's. Let's have a look.
A lot of people use it.
I don't know if a lot of people use it, but I was looking at some very clever heads that are using this.
Yeah.
And their view is look, if inflation is not the issue that everyone thinks it's going to be.
Interesting.
But we know it's all about growth. So it's not surprising that's a limited reaction to that CPI. But we can't discount it because that's still a big relief for the Fed. And that's a big thumbs up. But I'm not surprised to see a very mild reaction to that. If it was hot, then we would see the more selling.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's what, the Fed are sort of worried about those sentiment prints we've been having recently. But until it translates to hard data, it's just like up in the air, will o' the wisp. You can't put your finger on it. Shall we get stuck in? So we've just had the CPI print, and it has come in towards the low end of expectations. And that core reading, that's moving back in the right direction. So if you look at the core inflation print, at last, the Fed will be pleased. It's now going back lower. Excellent news for the Fed. It just means that they're going to take a little bit of reassurance from that. And the headline, look, 2.8%. So we're into that sort of 2% target range. We're getting quite close now. Some central banks have a 1 to 3% inflation print. So there's no drama there. And that's going to give the Fed even more sort of reason just to pause and not do anything in a hurry. They'll be pleased with that. Now, we're in the blackout period, so we're not going to hear from many Fed speakers. But Powell's already said, he's not going to overreact to one inflation print. So I'm not expecting them to overreact to this, but it's obviously moving in the right direction for them and is an encouragement. But as Paul and I were just chatting about earlier, it was quite a mild reaction in markets. We can see that dollar weakness is really stretched. So it wasn't worth chasing further dollar weakness. And actually, when you look at markets, you can see that any dollar weakness has faded quickly, right? And it's just come back into dollar strength. The S&P 500 did find some immediate buyers. They paired back quickly, and now they're just trying to work out what to do with this. We sort of, do we want to take it higher? The big driver, definitely the big driver is growth. The Fed said they're worried about some of the recent sentiment prints, weak business confidence, weak consumer confidence, but it hasn't translated into hard data yet. So we can't take any confidence from how the market's going to react to this weak CPI print. The better opportunity, as Najam was pointing out, would be to have sold stocks on a hot print. That would have made much more sense. And to have bought the dollar on a hot print, dollar yen upside, that would have made a lot of sense because we were pushed back against this recent narrative. So the events we've got coming up, quite quiet on the calendar. We've got Bank of Canada interest rate decision. That's going to be just a tariff-driven affair. And then we've got Trump out and about. Now, today, the Donald is going to see the Irish, is having a meeting with the Irish Prime Minister. Let me just check that. Yeah, US President Trump speaks with Irish PM. So the American dream is going to be meeting the Irish gift of the gab at 2:00. So who knows what on earth could come out of that. But if Donald really starts kicking the Irish, there's no real help for anyone because it's basically it's basically against the US's constitution to not love the Irish. So that should be a love-in, and if it isn't, that'd be awful.
Yeah.
And Irish, they're big exports. It's all like US pharmaceutical companies. So I'd be interested to see if there's some pharmaceutical deal that comes out of this. We'll see. But that's at 2:00, and then Bank of Canada's Macklem speaking at 2:30, and then EIA crude production, bond auction at 5, federal budget at 6. So not a whole lot going on. So piecemeal, but the usual drama has been tariffs. So we're just keeping an eye on that. 50% was going to be put on Canada, and then it was suddenly taken off to 25%. I'm glad that was taken off. Interesting to see how markets are going to react to this. Volatility has taken a sharp move lower. And you look, once volatility starts moving down underneath that 23 region, it does give permission for the S&P 500 to start increasing again. So if we can get underneath this 23, then we could see that recovery bring back in. And remember, there's no macroeconomic reason for this dip in stocks. It's not that the US is heading into a recession necessarily at all. It's not that the Fed's expected to cut, interest rates, 200 basis points in the next year. It's just that there's 3 interest rate cuts expected, and everyone's not knowing what to do about tariffs. And it was interesting, if you look at the sentiment of us here in the group, Paul couldn't bear to listen to Donald Trump anymore on the radio and the TV. I was feeling like worn out with it all. It's so depressing. Devan was like feeling down with it all. And I literally think that was how the market was feeling as well. Like, this is just ridiculous. Where does any of this end? And markets should be selling off. Now, we had Tuesday, and despite it looked like we were going to get a turnaround Tuesday towards the end of the session, but we didn't get it. But will we get a Wednesday that starts to see a bit of recovery? At some point, we might just start to see the market just take another kind of breather and just reassess this. I was looking at this on the weekly chart and thinking, okay, on the weekly chart, this could be quite a nice area to have like hammer reversal if we can keep reversing. This was that big support in September. So if we can get back above 5,700, then we're opening up the way to 5,800, 5,900 again. And we're seeing definite dip buying at the moment off this level, and the weaker CPI is not going to hurt that narrative at all. Whether it happens or not remains to be seen. Volatility is still high, but it is moving lower. So once again, we'll be keeping our eyes on the VIX, just seeing what's going on. I'm just, in fact, it's going to drag this over to my other screen as well. So I just can keep a permanent eye on the VIX. Ideally, you want to see it coming back down through 23 is what I'm looking for. So I'm just going to put the 23 line on. So in terms of where we are in terms of the morning moves, look at this. Since early European session, we've just been finding steady, constant buying. So that's the general mood. If you look at the Globex Open, we've got positive inventory, and we've got a break and close above all these sellers here at the 5640 getting trapped up there. Now, the only downside about this is they're getting trapped up into this developing weekly value area high. So this is an area where you're going to expect a bit of resistance. Now, we've broken close above this region, and the next sort of lot of sellers we've got are right down trapped here, down at this 5,560. So key areas to be looking at is the 5,560, and then if we can push above the 5,650, if we can break above this breakout, pullback, and on we go, that would be great. Or deeper pullback and another test of those highs. The 15-minute chart is showing that steady buying that we've had since the European session. We've kind of got a normal trend to the upside at the moment, and we've got you've got this developed value area from yesterday and the developed value area low from the day before. So you've got a great support level, which is, and that's 5,620 with some sellers trapped there, the daily VWAP as well. So this is a lovely area for potential longs on that daily VWAP. Now I was going to see where that corresponds on here, 5,620. But That's not too far away from the weekly point of control as well. And it's not too far away. Let's have a look here. Yes, it's got trap sellers there. So this is a strong area for buying at this 5,620. You'd expect to find buyers there, but it remains to be seen. We'll be just taking our cue from the US Open. We're about 15 minutes away. So projections, I'm expecting a drop down to the 5,620, then on our way up. Or if we can't make that, breaking down underneath the 5,620 and then making our way back down to the bottom end of the developed value area from yesterday and the point of control from yesterday, back down to the 5,580. So it's breakout, pull back to here on our way forward, or break down, break through, and then our way back down to 5,570. And if we keep going up, I'll be expecting us to target the 5,660 and then reassess when we get to there. That's the outlook. Also good to remind ourselves of the general moves we get across the session. And we saw this play out yesterday, and I think Najam alluded to it yesterday as well, if my memory serves me correct, saying you might get that turnaround Tuesday in the second half of the session, and we nearly did. So you have this sort of downward bias from the US Open into the US lunch. So up at the Open, down into the US lunch, and then obviously US is in a good mood after lunch, because then it's just can't wait to go home and we're buying till the end of the day. So post US lunch tends to be quite strong. So what we tend to see is a short move higher, then a more developed move lower, and then a little bit of consolidation around lunchtime before picking out again after that. So that's just a little reminder for there. Any big areas to be looking at on this chart? Obviously here, the 5,615, 5,620, you got all those sellers there. So that's standing out here, this 5,615 to 5,620 area. I'd expect just to find buyers there at the Open. So I'll see. I'm tempted to put in a buy if we see it move down there, but we'll see. Not on my real account, but on the accounts I'm trying to pass, just to see if I can get a little run higher, but we'll see about that. That's what I'm looking at today. How about yourself? Anything? What's grabbing your attention? What's standing out to you? How do you feel? Are you feeling what? Are you ready to start listening to US President Trump again? Or are you still just, give me a break from this guy for a bit?
Well, I have a tweet brought to you from Charlie Kirk, which was sent to me. Hey, Anthony. And Najam. So breaking, at 4 hours after President Trump escalated US tariffs on China, Ontario has agreed to suspend its 25% tariff on electricity exports to the US pending negotiations. So I don't know if that's the update, but essentially it seems to be some sort of less antagonistic deal has been reached.
That was that, and that's why you took the 50% tariffs off yesterday, wasn't it?
So I think there's been some sort of like compromise. The US gets electricity, as it turns out, and they get less tariffs, but I think what's the update on the Ukraine situation as well, because I think that they're bringing both sides to the table on that as well, aren't they? Because Russia was like retaliating, and then Trump was like, oh, actually, Russia, we're not best friends, like you need to stop this.
Just more from Lutnick. Does repeat order tariffs are coming in on April 2nd?
I think it's basically
there's
a peace deal priced in.
Okay.
I think the market's assuming that that's all going to be sorted now. If you look at the way the euro's moved up so much higher, Zelensky's playing ball with the US.
And more from Lutnick says nothing will stop tariffs on steel and aluminium imports until we have strong US industry.
So the emphasis is now on Russia, and the question is, what's Trump going to do publicly to Russia?
He's going to add copper. Lutnick is going to add copper.
Yeah. This update on the Gaza deal, the Gaza-Israeli situation.
Yeah,
that's left the headlines as well.
Yeah,
and I think they're trying to broker some deal there. Anyway, that has nothing to do exactly with what we're talking about, but maybe you feel like you have 6 or 7 or 8 sort of peace negotiation sort of deals on the table, and if they all can get sorted out, but that's maybe when you see that S&P start to turn around and get more stable.
I think it's the tariffs that are freaking out the S&P and in the growth story.
Right, I agree. But like that's the Canada, that's like one of the deals with
Okay,
Canada.
yeah,
Like
it's
included
yeah,
in the whole thing. Yeah, like because
yeah,
that's big uncertainty as well. So
yeah. It's just markets hate uncertainty. So the
yeah.
question is, how long does Donald Trump want to keep this level of uncertainty of it's 50% in the morning, then it's 25%. Oh, and it's imagine you're a business trying to
Yeah, there was a couple
trying to organize
commentators.
yourself.
Yeah, there's a couple commentators the other day as well that said they made a point of saying because Trump was asked like, will the U.S. go into recession, and he did not rule recession out. I think either News squawk that out maybe like after our session.
Yeah,
But they were taking it as somewhat significant, where even in his language, because it'd be a typical thing for him
Blunt
to
access,
say,
some
like,
point
of
stock
course
prices
not. Like the
will
stock market
go
will
up.
always go up, like that sort of thing. And he wasn't ruling it
no.
out.
He said something that there was a period of readjustment. I think that was the phrase that markets worried about. That was
Yeah.
there's gonna be a period of readjustment, which is as you say, was a total change.
Yeah, and that's very like calculated for Trump. Like that's not his type of language. That's
No, that's not. No, that's not his type of like. That's
yeah.
prepared for
People are
bad
like, oh,
news.
that's really bad. Yeah.
Yeah, really,
Uh,
yeah. Because everything with Trump is the biggest and the best and the
right.
greatest.
Right.
Yeah,
Small readjustment is like a 20% sell-off in the S&P.
yeah. Normal language for everyone else is like it's the end of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Because it was quite a reaction to that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I just he's keeping everyone guessing, isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay, point of control sat up there at the 5640, still staying pretty range bound. Quite a lot of volume coming lower, but just moving into those bottoms, had a false break of that opening area. Now back up towards the point of control with a bit of positive delta coming in. So this could go either way. Inventory is positive still. Let's just change this for the hour. Inventory's negative since the open. Okay. Inventory turned negative on that candle, joining these setups. Very indecisive, aren't we?
We got a nice little range here from the 44, 45 down to the 27. Three
Yeah.
or four touches on each one. If you drop down to like the 1 minute.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yep, right there. So until we figure out what we want to do there.
Just worth noting, alongside the BOC rate decision and opening statement from Macklem, BOC will also be releasing an update on Canadian businesses and households' reactions to the trade conflict.
Yeah, okay, we might be going for a little attempt at
Some
this.
commentary from Brazil's Haddad says we have a negotiating table open with the US government, says talks have been successful in the past, and they are negotiating currently and studying proposals from the industry.
I'm going to try that for a little short, just see if I can get it down to this region here, just down to the 5618. It's breaking on some volume. A little bit under there, then I might get a bit more volume. There we go.
Just further from Brazil's Haddad says they will deal with US tariffs with reciprocity. It's 1 minute now to the BOC rate decision. Related to the rate decision itself, again, is expected to cut by 25 basis points to 2.75%. Then have a look through the statement update from Macklem and also the reaction from households and businesses to the trade conflict.
Right, took a couple of shorts just out of that and just taking profit at the 5615. Just basically breaking out this little tiny range here. So summary, March the 12th. The headline summary, good news. Obviously, I passed a funded account today, which is nice. So you can see there.
More from US President Trump says very happy oil is down.
We'll just put Trump on the mute for 5 minutes. From the start of the session, there was one area that really took my attention, which is just these sort of trapped sellers here and these trapped sellers down there as a good place to look for a potential bounce. So as we went into the session, what I was looking for is an opportunity to see if I could go long. Now, with the US Open, we had sellers come in, and when the sellers came in, we had an opening range breakout just as we went down through this narrow opening range. We went down here on volume. So with that breaking on volume underneath the VWAP, good opportunity to short out of the open. So took a couple of shorts, but only into that developing value area low. It wasn't going to be a big trade, but took 2 positions and started the session. Then I was looking to go long from this 5, 6, 10 region. And then I saw a tiny bit of absorption coming in, which was enough for me to go long. You can just see that Delta's making ever so slightly higher lows, even as price is making lower lows. So that little bit of absorption, just enough, took first position long from there up to the high. Then when these buyers were trapping these sellers, I thought, you know what, there's another opportunity there to go long. So I took another opportunity long up to that 5628. So 2 nice positions long. Very happy with those trades. Then I was looking at this thinking, okay, is this the place where we start to turn around? Is this where absorption happens, and do we get a turnaround for the day? So I entered another couple of positions looking for this absorption to carry on. It became apparent here on this candle that it wasn't when we trapped these buyers on the 1 minute. So when I saw that, forget it, get out, close both of those positions. And then when this range, opening range breakout on volume, again coming out of these lows here with volume high, I took 2 positions short. Again, not looking for anything wonderful, although it's still, you know, nearly 10 points. Plus a second position, just took that off as we move lower. Then we saw more absorption, but this time absorption with a bit of bones to it. Price making lower lows, Delta making higher lows, absorption, that was confirmed. Started to see sellers getting trapped. Great, let's have another go long. Went long. Trying to get to the VWAP, it just sort of stalled a bit, so I just took it when I could up at that level. Then, again, the Delta's still high. Remember my thesis, I wanted to go long from here. Can I go long? We moved to the standard deviation, wasn't expecting it to drop through it, so tried another long, and then moved it to break even just to see if we got a kiss and go. Out at break even, just slightly better than break even, but price moved lower. Then came the best opportunity of the day, and that was the point of control was subsequently moved, but you can see here those buyers got trapped, and when they were trapped at this level, it was actually this candlestick that I took as a confirmation. Then I looked for a move back up to those trap buyers and then sold off 2 positions here. I also sold off my live account. I took some sales on the live account, and then that passed the account for the day. So that's very nice. And now this is another nice area that was developing now. We'll have to wait and see how the candle closes. Sellers moving on volume, trapping those buyers up against that level with a potential for a retracement and a drop down.
Yep.
So, good day.
Great work for the day. Fantastic.
Very nice to have done. And see everyone for tomorrow.
We'll do it all again tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Take care, Giles.
Take care, folks, everyone.